The mayor hits out at Birmingham's bashing as the bin strike troubles mount. I'm going to read into this more from the Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from the Times with the headline that the mayor has hit out at Birmingham's bashing as the bin strikes troubles mount. Richard Parker, the Labour mayor of West Midlands, said that the strikes were not a localised failure and blames cuts to council's finances. Just a reminder, if you haven't already, hit that like button and share across social media so others are notified of this video. And I do blame council's finances. I've spoken about this on live streams, I've spoken about this in other videos, and I'm going to tell you guys here. The austerity that the Conservative Party imposed since 2010 onwards has had a detrimental impact to our councils all across the UK. More damaging, I would say, to England than any other place. The cuts have been very vast, very severe, and in my opinion, harsh to a certain extent as well. And it has led to some councils going bust as a result. Now, an argument can be made, and this is an argument that I do generally want to point out. I accept that that some councils have not managed their budgets accordingly. I do accept that some councils have not been able to look after their money accordingly, and they should be managing their numbers better. I do agree with that. Because some councils have not gone bust. Because if they were completely out of pocket, all of them would have gone bust at this point. But this council here does have to take some ownership and responsibility. This Labour-run council has to take its fair share of ownership and responsibility when it comes to managing its budget. Okay, it does. It simply does. I'm not saying it's right, and I'm not saying it's fair in any way, shape, or form that what happened with austerity to this council and every other council. I'm not saying it's right or fair in any way, shape, or form. It was wrong that these were all cut because it's made things more difficult for these councils, and it got further exacerbated for all these councils because guess what else happened under the 14 plus years of the Conservatives when they were ruling? We left the European Union, and when we were a part of the European Union, councils got funding from the European Union as well. We lost that funding too when we left. So they had even less money. So never mind just the austerity cuts. Brexit also had an impact when it came to councils as well. And so when you have that on top of the cuts, it really does leave things cut to the bone. I stand with the unions and their part in that the workers who are being deeply affected by this deserve terms and conditions, and their wages. They have stated is that they're not actually looking for a wage rise, believe it or not. They just want their pay to be what it used to be. They don't want a wage cut, which is what the council were trying to do. And they're not prepared to, and they're also trying to fight for their jobs as well, because some of them could lose their jobs as a result. As of right now, at the time of this recording, we have other councils stepping in to help clear the rubbish. There have been some military, not directly on the ground, but trying to support and help with that. Most of Birmingham's rubbish, as far as I'm aware, based on people living in certain areas, have said that their rubbish has been cleared. Most of the rubbish that was piling up has been cleared thanks to the help of other councils. But, of course, this can only drag on for so long. And how long before the rubbish piles up again? Because obviously these councils helping out, it comes at a cost for them to be able to support them as well. I've said that the government needs to step in to deal with this situation because the council cannot deal with this situation because clearly the unions and the council getting around this table are not resolving this issue. And it does, and we do need the government to step in to resolve this matter. Birmingham should not be painted as forever blighted by bins, the region mayor has said. As the council refuses to say how much taxpayer money has been spent cleaning up rubbish piled up on the city streets. Ministers calls on unions to end a 5-week strike that has left 21,000 tonnes of rubbish strewn across the city. However, Unite, the union behind the walkout, has warned that the strikes could spread to other cities where councils are cutting costs. Government sources have insisted that the situation in Birmingham is extreme and unique and play down the prospect of a strikes spreading. However, Richard Parker, the Labour mayor of West Midlands, said that the strikes is not a localised failure and instead blamed the cuts to councils' finances. Parker said the build-up of rubbish was the consequence of being asked to do more with less, and said that there was no point pretending otherwise. As bins piled up and pressures mounts, the country looks as if this is the result of some uniquely Birmingham dysfunction, Parker said. But treat it as some kind of localised failure. The results of poor choices or civil decline is to ignore the bigger picture. They've been incarcerated as post-industrial relics, dismissed as too messy, too complex, and far too gone, and now are being paid forever blighted by the bins. Those of us who led here have expected to manage expectations, not raise them. Be thankful for little pots of cash here and there to fill the cracks, but I refuse to play that game. Hundreds of bin workers have been on an indefinite all-out strike since March the 11th, leaving tons of rubbish to build up on the streets, attracting huge rats and terrible smells. Birmingham's City Council bin boss urged striking workers to accept the deal put forward by the authority, which is described as very, very fair. Craig Cooper, the council's strategic director for city operations, refused to reveal how much taxpayer money has been spent, bringing in help from neighbouring councils and private providers. So basically, the Birmingham Council has paid others to deal with the situation. The Conservatives have accused the Labour-run council of mismanagement, using the phrase "vote Labour, get rubbish" in the run-up to the local elections on Thursday, May the 1st. However, Parker said that managing decline was behind the strike, adding that it left cities across the country without the resilience to withstand economic shocks. He said that he was sick of the Birmingham bashing, which had come with the strikes, and then added, "The thing about Birmingham is that we're used to being underestimated. For generations, cities like ours have been treated as punch lines. Most recently is centralised nonsense like the rats the size of cars, suggesting Birmingham is some sort of nuclear no-go zone." Parker added, "So no, Birmingham isn't perfect, but it's proud and it's determined and it deserves more than a sneer." The strike stems from the scrapping of waste recycling and collection officer role. The job was created after a previous bin strike in 2017 and was paid more than other roles, purposely coming with extra responsibilities. However, lawyers later successfully argued that those extra responsibilities did not really exist and that the role had been created to pay some men more and therefore end the strikes. Extra refuge lorries have been displaced to help clean the streets of rubbish. The Coopers said that getting the army out to clear piles of rubbish amid an indefinite bin strike worker strike is not a consideration, with 3 military personnel instead undertaking logistical work. "I'm still disappointed that we haven't got to a point where Unite are back at the table, and I urge Unite to come to the table as quickly as possible because the residents of Birmingham deserve a refuge service that is in line with the rest of the country," he said. I can speak from in my area where we have refuge rubbish collected every 2 weeks, and then we have recycling collected every week. But I also have to point out that because I'm in London, it's very different from outside of London. So I can't speak obviously for your areas, but feel free to tell me what collections are like in your areas down in the comments below. However, there are no signs of union backing down. Oleg Keskab, the national lead officer at Unite, said that Birmingham City Council has shifted the goalposts on several occasions on pay. At some points they said it's about equal pay, other points they said it's about a better service. Keskab told BBC Radio 4 Today programme. Quite how you get a better service by cutting people's pay, I don't know. And now we are talking about costs. That's the reality here. He denied that Unite was leveraging the public. He told Times Radio the offer from the council would still leap to a sharp cliff-edge drop in pay up to £8,000 a year for our members. He warned that there was potential for strike action on other parts of the country if local authorities cut the pay of public workers. Again, I can't speak for other areas, other sections, other bin workers in other departments. I can only speak for this situation. And obviously those in those areas, the locals in those areas can speak for themselves about how the rubbish and the work that they do. But it is frustrating. It is deeply, deeply frustrating, that is for sure. This issue does need to be resolved. And I do think the government needs to step in because clearly the council cannot deal with this situation. And I refuse to accept whatever I think of you know, I don't accept this premise from Richard Parker here to saying that it's down to just conservative austerity. I don't accept that premise. I do believe Brexit has had an impact on the cuts to councils. And I do believe that the council has not ran its budgets very well either. Because, like I said, many councils are struggling. I accept that. But a lot of councils have not gone bankrupt because they've learnt to manage their books. And this council has not managed their books, in my opinion. I know some people don't like that, but that is the reality. Because I don't hear a lot. I don't hear it everywhere. I don't hear it at every single council outside of London saying they're about to go bankrupt. They've got to learn to manage your money. And like I said, it's not right that they got cut through austerity. And it's not right that funding when leaving the European Union has not helped either. And I wish I could sit here and tell you that Rachel Reeves should just bring back all the money that was gone. She could. I mean, when it comes to weapons and defence, yeah. But in this situation, no. But what do you guys honestly think? What do you guys make about this whole situation around the Ben strikes? Let me know your honest thoughts about it all down in the comments section below. If you found this video interesting, informative, or helpful in any way to you, please hit that like button, share across social media, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the Rumble and Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. And if you want to go one step further and financially support me, there's a join button to join the membership as well. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.